What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream. And unfortunately, I am not going to be able to share with you guys how year two ended up going. I recorded it and tried to, live stream it onto my YouTube and then everything. I just don't know what happened to the video. It just kind of disappeared into space. I don't know if I accidentally hit stop record or something like that, but sadly, I won't be able to be sharing with you how a lot of the top prospects finished up their seasons because that data gets lost after the year. You saw kind of how some of the major league guys had done. Nothing changed too much from there, but that's okay. Recapping the end of last season, we did somehow pull off making the playoffs. We ended up in the third wild card spot. We took on the Angels, and we actually won a game. We lost the first one, we won the second one, and we ended up losing the third game, unfortunately, to the Angels. So in the end, I was really happy to see that we made the playoffs. We definitely overperformed, so I'm pretty excited about that. I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which kind of changed how I approached this offseason. Before we talk about that, I want to tell you who won the World Series last year. It was the New York Yankees. They took on the Philadelphia Phillies, and they took them down in 5 games. They won the first 3 games, lost the 4th, and then took the 5th. So that is how last year finished up. You're not missing too much in terms of awards and stats and everything like that. So no big deal there. So just a couple of things I want to talk about before we talk about some of the signings. We did move on from Kyle Isbell and Edward Olivares in the outfield positions. I didn't love how they were performing. I did like some of the stuff that each of them brought us, but I felt like they were just too limited, and I wanted to go some other directions. So we moved on from those guys. We also moved a couple of guys to relief pitchers. So I had considered moving Josiah Gray to relief pitcher. I kind of like how he performed last season in that role. His ERA was like just south of 7 before we moved him to the bullpen, and so he dropped it all the way down to 5.82. I'm kind of excited to see what he can do for us. And then I also moved TJ Sikkema into the left-handed relief role that I had talked about at the end of last season as well. Actually, I may have talked about that in the video that didn't record. I don't remember or not. So, but yes, I did move him there. I really liked how he performed as a bullpen pitcher last season. So he's currently in AAA. Asa Lacy and Angel Zerpa are ahead of him in the relief roles in the Major League bullpen right now. But we'll talk about a little bit about that in a minute. So talking about some of the signings, I did actually try to go for it a little bit this year with some of my signings. Now, it didn't go too crazy. Guys like Juan Soto and Max Fried and Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff and Shane Bieber and Carlos Correa were all in the free agency market. All of those guys, except for Soto, were like, oh, we want to play for contenders or stuff like that. And I was like, all right, you know what? These guys, they're not liking some of the things. Like, I can just offer them a bunch of money, but they're not actually liking any aspects of my team. Soto, however, though, did like my team. He didn't have a contender thing as one of his motivations. He liked that I had a compatriot from the Dominican Republic. So I kind of went back and forth on whether or not I'd sign him. I tried a few times to sign him and see what happened. And basically every time I offered him a contract, he would sign with me. So after some thought, I thought that, you know what? It's not going to be realistic for him to sign with us. We're a small market team. We're not ready to compete yet. You see our current roster strategy still rebuilding. So I decided to not do that. I did consider saying, hey, Patrick Mahomes, why don't you talk to this superstar in his sport and maybe we can work something out. But in the end, I felt like it'd be a little bit more interesting if I didn't just go out and sign one of the best players in all of baseball and a true generational talent who's 24 freaking years old. So he actually signed, and let me go show you this roster because this is insane. He signed with the Mets. Yeah, the Mets signed Corbin Burns and Juan Soto in the offseason. Look at this roster. Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander are both hanging around. They both re-upped on 1-year, smaller contract deals. I've been actually controlling their overalls because they just keep torching. I mean, Max Scherzer and Verlander, they drop about 15 points by the end of the season in the last 2 years. So I've been trying to give them some bumps back. You can see they've still been performing decently well, both of them. Verlander didn't have a great 23, but he did have a good 24. So I've been trying to help them. Unfortunately, Verlander ends up out of the rotation by the end of the season. You only had 26 starts, but I'll try to monitor that this year because these guys are going to be probably in their 60s just because of how bad regression is in this game. But the Mets are loaded. So, all right, let's move back over our team. Let's talk about some of the moves we made. So what I was looking for was more of a front-end rotation starter. And I wanted to bring back Tyler Mahle. I really like how he pitched for us. He actually kind of slowed down a little bit pitching for the Padres last year, so the Padres kind of got screwed. But I wanted to bring him back, and I said, hey, you know what? You played for us last year. We like how you played. We're going to give you that 5-year contract you're looking for. So 5 years, that's about $76.2 million, or $76 million even is what that is. So I'm really excited about Tyler Mahle. I think he's going to be the ace of our staff. I think of him as more of a 2, but I can use him as an ace in the staff. So I like what he brings to the table for us going forward. Like his makeup, he should be a good leader for us, and his contract should be roughly expiring as some of our younger studs, guys like Tink Hence and Dylan Lesko are probably ready to break into the majors and take over bigger roles. So the other guy we went after for the starting pitching market is I didn't have a veteran lefty that I liked, and I went after Martin Perez. You know, he has a pretty decent overall. He had a good 2023, but he was very bad in 2024, and you see his component ERA and his FIP are not great. I wanted to take a chance at him because he's a nice guy who can kind of stabilize our rotation in the middle there. Nice lefty veteran that we need. I don't have to rely on DL Hall that much. And he also is a trade chip if he pitches pretty well. I don't think we're going to be like a super contender this year, so I'm probably going to do a little bit of selling at the deadline. So I wanted to still bring in a couple of guys who could be trade chips. Now, I also wanted to attack our bullpen a little bit. As you see, we did bring back Ryan Stanek. Again, he was just filthy last year for both us and the Padres. And you see the Padres have lost 2 of the guys in that blockbuster trade back to us anyways. I brought him back on a 2-year contract. I won't be afraid to trade him if necessary, but I definitely want to bring him back. He should be a solid all-around closer for us and show up our bullpen. I also went after John Brebbia. He was about the 3rd or 4th guy I went after. I tried to go after Alex Reyes, Chris Stratton, guys like that. But I looked at Brebbia and I'm like, damn, he's got some pretty good numbers. This will be a nice guy to throw into our setup role. He should shore up the back end of our bullpen pretty well. So I'm happy and excited about that. To have a couple of veterans back there to kind of balance out some of the lower overall guys in the back end of our bullpen. Okay. So that covers the pitchers. I also brought in another veteran catcher in Kyle Higashioka. I do like the power in his bat. He's got really good fielding numbers. So this guy profile is great as a backup catcher. Only a 1-year deal. Could possibly flip him at the deadline if he does pretty well. Team's looking to kind of get a backup catcher or something like that. I like Freddie Furman, but again, he's more offense. And with MJ Melendez being so heavy on the offense, I wanted somebody behind him that was a little bit better defensively, and Higashioka fit that bill. Now, we also needed a second baseman, and I went after Gleyber Torres. He has not been outstanding, but he's been solid. I wanted a guy who could hit near the top of our lineup. You see his walk rates are okay, a little bit below average last year, but right around league average for his career at 8.3%. 64 disciplines right around league average for this. I don't think he's going to grow anymore at all. So I'm going to put him at the top of my order. I'm hoping, I like that he's 28 years old. I'm hoping that he can be a nice little piece for us. I didn't love him, but there wasn't any second baseman really available. I felt like we needed to improve at second base. I didn't love Michael Massey and guys like Nate Eaton. I wanted to play like in the outfield or something like that. So I'd like bringing in Gleyber Torres. I don't know why I'm a little bit hesitant on him. We did give him a 5-year deal. That is going to be about $47 million is what that is. I'm doing the math quickly in my head correctly. So Gleyber Torres is going to be hitting at the top of our lineup. I like him. I don't know. I'm a little nervous. Hopefully he plays well. Actually, no, he's not hitting at the top of our lineup. I'll show you who is in a second. It's actually going to be Austin Slater. So I've always been a pretty big Austin Slater fan. I love how he smashes lefties. He's got decent defensive profile, good speed, can steal some bases. Again, not having an outstanding franchise to this point, but overall not too bad. I like how he takes a good amount of walks. He sees over 10% there. Wish he'd strike out a little bit less, but we're going to be putting him in a full-time role. We'll see how he does against those righties. I do have some pivots in case he doesn't hit the righties well, then he can hit the lefties. I gave him a 2-year, $13 million contract, which was a little bit less than he was asking for. So again, this is another guy who could turn into a trade chip if he plays very well, and we're looking to go elsewhere. So that is going to basically sign off on all of the signings we made. Now I just want to take you guys and show you some of my lineups. So you see that Slater, the lineup's going to be the same against righties and lefties. Slater's going to be in the leadoff position mostly because of that discipline. We'll see how he does. Melendez behind him, then Witt staying in the 3 hole with Pasquantino behind him. Torres in the 5. Urshela still at the DH at the 6. Waters, who had a very good season last year, staying in the 7 hole. Michael Garcia, who had a very good spring training. And I liked how he bounced back down the tail end of last season. And then Nate Eaton in the 9 hole. I like our bench. It's decent. Nick Lofton. Good versatility defensively, not a bad bat. He had a pretty good season last year. Peyton Wilson, all he does is hit, so I like him as a switch hitter off the bench. We talked about Higashioka, and then Diego Hernandez is going to be my 4th outfielder. We'll see how he plays and how Slater plays, and we might move Hernandez into the lineup against lefties. Taking a look at the AAA lineup, this is what we're going to be looking at here. I'm keeping a close eye on Tucker Bradley, Gavin Cross, Michael Massey, and Jackson Merrill this season. Hopefully Merrill can keep up his development, bumps in those powers categories, etc., etc. And then down here, AA, our first round draft pick, Diego Ramos, is going to be leading off for us. Going to keep a close eye on him. Gabriel Gonzalez is a guy I've been impressed with. Yaisen Morabolo, and Glider Figueroa, guys we acquired at the deadline last year. And then we also pushed Braylon Tavera, who we acquired from the Baltimore Orioles in the first season, into AA. He's a little low overall, but he's 20 years old. We got to start getting those development bumps coming quickly for him. Okay, switching over to the pitching rotation, we're going to be running with Tyler Mahle, Brady Singer, Martin Perez as our top 3. Max Castillo was just flat out phenomenal in spring training, so he won the 4-starter job. And we are going to be just pushing DL Hall. I'm going to give him a long leash, so we're going to see what happens with him. But again, I liked how he pitched down the tail end of last season. I think he's got some nasty stuff. I don't want to push him into the bullpen yet, but this is going to be his last chance to be a starter. If he doesn't get it, he's going to have to switch to the bullpen, and we're going to have to go from there. And then you're looking at the bullpen role here. We've got Josiah Gray and Prolando Baroa as our top middle relievers. We did pick up Justin Dunn, who pitched pretty well in a starting role, so him and Castillo might be seeing who's going to stay in that 4th role. I do like Dunn as a relief pitcher as well. And then you see Brebbia and Stanek at the back end of our bullpen, and Lacey as our lefty specialist. Down here, we're keeping an eye on Taj Bradley and Tank Hentz, along with Brian Lucas, who was one of our top draft picks from last year. Actually, our first round pick from last year. Bullpen-wise, guys like Dylan Coleman, Jackson Kowar, TJ Sikkema, all guys who want to keep on as possibly up-down guys for the bullpen roles there. And then down here, I really love our AA pitching rotation. Dylan Lesko, Ben Cood, Frankie Mazzucato, Pedro Velasquez, and Luander Avila. And then nothing to really speak of for the pitching rotations there. So anyways, that's all I got to say about this. We are the 21st ranked squad right now. I think we got some upside, but I do see why we're the 15th rank, 21st rank. We definitely got to work on our power. Our pitching is going to need a little bit of work right now. I don't know what game I'm going to play first. I might just do a regular old opening day game because I'd like to pitch with Tyler Mahle, but I might try to pitch with Max Castillo. Might be a game to think about too. So something early in the season we'll play, and then we'll go from there. Probably go straight to the draft episode after that. So anyways, in the meantime, between time, I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm gone. Deuces.